had a question on page 342, some of your stuff with De Moivre's, I'm probably still saying that wrong, the DMT theorem. So on how to use that on numbers that maybe are a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is go over number 11 on page 342. That's what we're going to just do here, or at least get you guys how you can start that a little bit and go through it there. So on this one, the point is 2 plus 2i, and then to the 7th power, and what we would go on there. So on that one, what I would do first, as I, in the notes there, what we want to do is take that point 2 plus 2i and convert it into trig form. So what I'm going to do first is plot out the point 2 plus 2i. That's got to be in quadrant 1 right there. And so then we would put it into trig form. So I'd make my triangle by dropping that down and over. I know that each side is 2. Oh, well, you could use the inverse tangent, or, these two sides are the same. So this has to be a 45-degree angle in there. I know that much. And then also we can use a little bit of Pythagorean theorem to find the hypotenuse here, which is the square root of 8, or 2 root 2, if you like that. Okay, if we like that one, square root of 2 times 2, that's that. So now I know the trig form of this number, 2 plus 2i, is 2 root 2, because that's the radius, cis cosine I sine, right, because we're working with our I value, of 45 degrees, right? That's what we have there. Or if you like, what I'm going to put it is in actual radians, which is the same as pi over 4. This will actually turn out to be a little bit easier in radians. And then we're going to raise this to the 7th power, which in De Moivre's theorem, right, we just multiply that times the angle here. That's why I put it in fractional form, because then I can just leave it as a fraction. I don't have to do much more. So that'll actually be super easy to put the new angle in here, multiply that by 7. But this one needs to not be multiplied by 7. It will not be 14 root 2. That is not the correct radius in here. I need to take this to the 7th power. So in that case, right, what we would have, and that might be where it's a little confusing if you have 2 root 2, what we would have is 2 to the 7th power times the square root of 2 to the 7th power, which this first one is not too bad to deal with. We can type that right in our calculators, which I think is like 128 or something like that. But what is the square root of 2 to the 7th power? That's a little bit tough. Few ways you could do that. You could literally say this is the square root of 128, and you could go ahead and simplify that down. Or another way that we could look at this is to say, hey, the square root of 2 square root means half power. So this is really 2 to the 7th power divided by 2, right? I mean, that's what that part would be in there. And then I know 7 divided by 2 is technically 3.5. So really this I can simplify to be 2 to the 3rd and another half power. 3.5 is the same as 7 over 2. And then I can bring in this spare to the 7th power left there. And so we can go ahead and put that one in there. So in here I could put down, this would be 2 to the 10th times 2 to the half, which is square root of 2. And then I'd have to grab my calculator and type in 2 to the 10th. Boy, that's probably actually quite a large number in there. But 2 to the 10th, 1,024. Not too bad. So then we'd have that 1,024 root 2, and then we have our cis. Well, okay, multiply this by 7 pi over 4. And that's got to be that final result on that one. And if you're not sure, like on this simplifying part on there, you can always, type that into your calculator and, see if that works out. In fact, that's what I'm going to do right here, just so you guys can see, yeah, that's actually the same thing. We can do, one of them is 2 times the square root of 2 to the 7th. Oh boy, formatting's getting all off here. I didn't have it in my lap here. So there's 2, the root 2 to the 7th power. We have to make sure we do the entire thing to the 7th power. And hopefully, I actually haven't checked this before doing it. Hopefully I did everything right and don't embarrass myself when I type that in there. Whew. Okay, good. Math still works out and the world is still turning. So those two things, they're exactly the same. The second one is just a little more simplified version of the first one. So that's keeping that in radical form, and that's how you can do that. So hopefully that helps out. Number 13, the one right below that, would be very, very similar. You can use just the Pythagorean theorem, again, to find that hypotenuse. And in fact, the hypotenuse on that one will work out to be very, very nice. You won't have any square roots in that hypotenuse. So in fact, that one will be a little bit easier because the simplification process will be a little bit faster. So if you got any other questions, send them my way.